In the headlines, third batch of Nigerians stranded in Ukraine arrive Abuja. Evacuees narrate their ordeal. Court sets free wife of suspected killer of Hanifa Abubakar after her testimony. Bajak Biabila says another round of constitutional amendment to commence soon. And on the foreign scene, Russia announces temporary ceasefire to allow Ukraine evacuate civilians from Mariupol and Volnovkaya. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. And now the news in full. The third batch of Nigerians stranded in Ukraine arrived at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, from Budapest, Hungary, aboard Air Peace. According to Nigerians in Diaspora Commission via its Twitter handles, 2 aircrafts provided by the federal government were assigned to repatriate Nigerians living in the Ukraine who were caught in the middle of the Russian attacks on multiple fronts. The third batch, which arrived Friday night, airlifted 174 Nigerians from Hungary, where they had fled following the war in Ukraine. About 415 people were evacuated on the first flight, while 183 people were on the second flight. Meanwhile, Nigerian evacuees from war-torn Ukraine have continued to arrive at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. The returnees who had fled Ukraine in the wake of the conflict between the former Soviet nation and Russia had fled to border countries in Poland, Romania, Hungary and Slovakia for safety. So far, over 700 out of the 2,090 returnees touched down in Nigeria in 3 batches.
The experience was actually hectic. It came to us more like an unaware thing. So it wasn't easy at all. We experienced racism, we experienced so many things, so many violent encounters with people. But all along, one thing I must clearly say is that Nigeria came through for us, and we were very proud that the Nigerian government did what amazed us.
But when the train came, it was full and they refused to open the doors for passengers to get in. So I wasn't able to go on the first day. I had to come back the next day. So I was able to take a train to Lviv. Then I got on the wrong train. So I went to the wrong border instead. So I had to go all the way back to Lviv. And it was very stressful. Before I was later able to get a train that was going to Poland. Then when I got there, I was able to get on a bus which took me to the meeting points where the Nigerian bus was going to take care of the citizens.
So when we heard it was getting closer, before the night we left, I think we started hearing the bombs started getting to our side. So so many of us were hesitant, but the bomb just made us sure of what we were doing. So okay, the next morning we left. Okay, heading towards Poland. Most people were heading towards Poland as at then because other countries' borders weren't open. And then getting to Poland, it's supposed to be like give or take a 4-5 hours stuff, but there was a problem leaving Ukraine border, right? Because most were black and the train had to be free. Before it wasn't free, but then they had to be free. So people just plunged into the train. So you're in a standing train, you're in a train basically, and then millions of people are standing really.
They only allowed, first of all, they started allowing their white women before they allowed their white men. Before they now started allowing black women. Sometimes in some trains they had to drag some black men out of the train basically. So it was basically based on racism.
For sure there was a discrimination. I can't say no to that, but from my side I didn't get any discrimination. We didn't get any bad experience, but our fellow Nigerians, they really discriminate them. I can say that. So we have that fear of like our education, everything has changed within a time. So we don't even know what to do and what will happen to our fate and our future. So we were very scared. We are scared. Till now we are scared.
And the Kano Magistrates Court has ordered the release of Jamila, wife of Abdul Malik Tanku, self-confessed killer of 5-year-old Hanifa Abubakar. The woman, who was accused of conspiring with her husband to kidnap and subsequently murder the minor, was set free on Friday. Jamila had stated her innocence when she testified against her husband at a Kano High Court on Thursday. Earlier, State Counsel Barrister Lamid Osoran Inki prayed for the court to look into the testimony given by the woman. Jamila had testified before Justice Usman Abba of the Anu High Court against her husband, narrating how he brought the little girl, Hanifa, to the house till the day he took her out of her home. And the head of service of the Federation, Folashade Yemi Esson, has been asked to resign over allegations of gross misconduct and retrogressive tendencies. Coalition of Civil Societies for Equity, Justice and Good Governance accused the head of service of frustrating recruitment into federal tertiary institutions and other government departments and agencies. The group threatens a protest within 7 days if the head of service fails to resign or the federal government fails to sack her from office. The report.
Speaking during a peaceful march at the Unity Fountain in Abuja, co-leader of the coalition group, Comrade Danny Simomo, said it was appalling that after the initial call by the group for Dr. Esson's resignation, nothing was done on the part of government. Consequently, it has threatened to protest within 7 days if the head of service fails to honorably resign or the federal government fails to sack her from office. The group noted that rather than face the issues that have been raised previously, the office of the head of service of the Federation had decided to deny the allegations with no clear proof. The group alleged that aside the official recruitment into the Federal Civil Service, the head of service has been known to conduct recruitment from backdoor for a long time, even in the face of the so-called embargo on employment. It claimed that racketeering, which had become the order of the day in the Federal Civil Service, is conducted by the head of service under her watch.
Sequel to our 7 days ultimatum and failure of the federal government to act by sacking the head of service for gross misconduct as well as our inability to honorably resign due to the retrogressive policies, we are here today to sound another note of warning on the office of the head of civil service of the Federation and demand that justice be done for the greater good of Nigerians. Instead of facing the issue we have previously raised and addressed them appropriately, the office of the head of service decided rather to deny all the allegations with unsubstantiated points. We are challenging her to come before the public and face what we have deposited before the public, to come and deny her. Our office is very, very incompetent. The Federal Ministry of Education and the National University Commission do not decide when university recruit or when the polytechnic recruit or when the colleges of education recruit. These two bodies are not involved in staff auditing and therefore cannot grant approval for the university to recruit. The head of service is being economical with the truth and must be made to accountable for the gross misconduct he has misled our nation.
However, a statement from the head of service of the Federation, signed by Director of Communications, Abdulganiyu Aminu, denied the allegations, insisting that embargo on employment was still in force.
Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajagbiamila, says another round of amendment to the 1999 Constitution may commence soon. He said this while refielding questions from reporters at Federal Government House, Ilorin. He said there will be more devolution of power from the exclusive to the concurrent lists in the new amendment. The Speaker also said that both chambers of the National Assembly will harmonize the amendments and also send to 36 states' houses of assembly. Kwara State Governor Abdurrahman Abdulrazak says more women are needed in government to contribute to national development.
As far as we can go at this stage, you were all witness to the consideration of the report on, was it what, Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever that was? Yeah, Tuesday. So out of 68 bills, I believe the House has passed about a good number, and the Senate ditto, and we will harmonize both houses, and where there are differences, we will sort that out and then pass them on to the state assemblies, including Kwara State. Devolution of powers. No, that's restructuring. I think there were about 5 or 6 items where we devolved powers from the exclusive list to the concurrent list, and that's a form of restructuring, a major form of restructuring. You know, correctional services, stamp duties, and so on and so forth. And the local government autonomy is also a form of restructuring. And I believe that the constitutional amendment is ongoing. There will be a second batch of amendments that will come up very soon. I don't know when. And then we'll have a wholesale look at the remaining sections, and then we can talk even better on that, on the issue of restructure. I believe there will be some more devolution of powers from the exclusive to the concurrent list.
Well, it encourages us to do more. It's important, especially with the background of the debate going on in the National Assembly on gender issues. We need to have more women on the table making the decisions. We'll keep pushing the envelope and make sure, like other states emulate Kwara, where we have passed the bill into law, 35% for women in political appointments. We spoke about this issue with the Right Honourable Speaker, and I will continue to engage the National Assembly on that matter. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And talking politics now, mixed reactions are trailing contemplation of same-faith ticket in the 2023 general elections calculations. A cross-section of respondents who spoke to Trust TV's Shafiq Suleiman are divided over the need for religious balancing of candidates in the current political contest or otherwise.
Ethnic and religious factors play a role in Nigeria's political setup since independence. In 1993, however, Mashood Abiola and Babagana Kingebe, though from the same faith, garnered popular support from the voters who defy ethnic and religious considerations. In 2019, Nasir El-Rufai and Hadiza Sabwa achieved similar victory in Kaduna State, considered religiously volatile. Since then, debate about same-faith ticket in political contest rages. Professor Jibril Ibrahim is a pro-democracy activist and academic. He is of the belief that owing to Nigeria's diversity, applying federal character principle is a necessity for power balancing in a delicate political contest. His view is in sharp contrast with that of a veteran journalist and publisher Dan Agbese.
There may be contexts in which that may not be necessary, but my view is that as far as possible, it is good to reflect the federal character. Reflecting the federal character includes also reflecting the religious character of the nation or of the states.
We are not Muslims or Christians, we are Nigerians, and the interest of Nigeria is what should matter, not the interest of our religion, because if there is no religion, you cannot protect the Islam or Christianity. So there has to be a country first, and that country has to be at peace. I have to be at peace with my Muslim neighbor. If I'm at peace with him, I feel secure because I know he has my back and I have his back. That's what is important.
Mahmoud Jega is the publisher of 21st Century Chronicle and a prolific writer. He says the political parties have the sole responsibility of determining the composition of their candidates, while a media consultant, Muhammad Kudu Abubakar, expressed reservations.
The political parties must calculate for themselves what is feasible, where they pick their candidates and what they pick their enemies. Everything will be dictated by circumstances and also the awareness of what voters will accept or will not accept. And the political parties are in a very good position to do that.
I've always been an advocate of competence over anything else. I don't really believe in rotational presidency to start with, because I feel the most competent person. Democratic ideals, should determine who becomes a leader, thereabout, not sectionalism. A sectional leader may not necessarily be the best president for this country.
Though Nigerians were not bogged down by religious or ethnic considerations in deciding their leaders in the past, which often led to the prioritization of merit above other primordial sentiments, Growing polarization along such fault lines threatens application of this political arrangement. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
You're watching Trust TV News Update. Coming up after the break, how father attempts killing son. This and more after the break. Do stay with us.
For over 10 years, an age-long conflict between herders and farmers, which has transformed into a deadly armed uprising, has claimed the lives of thousands of persons and led to the displacement of thousands of others. Talking to the key actors and victims on the conflict, Trust TV takes a dive into the heart of this conflict and brings all sides of the narratives behind the devastating conflict. In a first by any media organization, we traveled to meet one of the most notorious names associated with banditry, Kachala Turji. We also speak to researchers and experts who help us unravel the layers of the naughty conflict.
Welcome back. You're still watching Trust TV News Update. Now look at our top stories. Third batch of Nigerians stranded in Ukraine arrived at Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, from Budapest, Hungary, above air peace. A Kano State Magistrate Court on Friday frees wife of Abdulmalik Tanko, facing trial for murder of Hanifa Abubakar. And now moving on to other stories, Nigeria has recorded 31 new COVID-19 infections across 4 states and the Federal Capital Territory. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, data shows 6 persons were discharged after they recovered from the infection. Meanwhile, there were no recorded deaths from COVID-19 complications. According to the NCDC, Nigeria now has a total of 254,637 infections, 249,160 recoveries and 3,142 fatalities across the country. And still talking health, over 5.2 million mosquito nets will be given to less privileged, vulnerable groups and other households in Katsina as part of efforts to fight malaria scourge in the state. Minister of Health, represented by Director Clinical Services, Dr. Abdul Hakim, says this while flagging off distribution of the insecticide-treated mosquito nets at the Emir's Palace, Katsina. The report.
The minister said the distribution of the treated mosquito nets was aimed at reducing the scourge of malaria, especially among pregnant women and children.
I'm pleased to inform you that the use of ITN as one of the key strategies adopted for the prevention and elimination of malaria in the country by the federal government.
The project director, Society for Family Health, and the program manager, Global Funds, who acknowledged a significant drop in malaria cases in Katsina State, called on people to imbibe the culture of sleeping under treated mosquito nets for the program to attain the desired objective. They say over 12,000 people are expected to be engaged in the mobilization and distribution of the treated mosquito nets across Katsina State.
And also to say that Society for Family Health has been here for at least more than a decade. We've been bringing health to the last mile, and for this event, we are hoping to be able to distribute over 5.2 million nets in your state.
For the ITN distribution to the revised national guideline, this is to limit the spread of COVID-19 in the state. I implore the press to support the creating awareness about the ITN mass campaign and encourage ITN collection and use by people of the Katsina State.
However, the Imam of Katsina, Alhaji Abdulmumin Kabir Usman, advocated for a more modest way of addressing the problem of mosquitoes that spread malaria to people beyond the use of treated nets. This, according to the EMA, include the silting of drainages to ensure free flow of water to prevent mosquitoes from breeding, and frequent fumigation exercise along swamps and ghettos. The relevance of fumigation in addressing malaria cannot be overemphasized. We are not saying the nets are not important, but we need fumigation and the silting of drainages more than the nets. If you don't allow the mosquitoes to breed, then what do you need treated nets for? So you see, it is quite understandable that mosquito nets, Governor Masari, while flagging off the distribution of the treated mosquito nets, lamented the habit of some people who, he said, in spite of government's commitments to construct drainages and culverts, yet they dump refuse inside to cause havoc of flooding. The governor said Katsina State government alone has spent over 16 billion naira in the construction of drainages, besides 10 billion naira committed by New Map in collaboration with Katsina State government for the design and construction of new drainages as well as erosion control programs.
This issue of fumigation, the area of drainages, the other hand is, you remember when we were growing up, it was the responsibility of each household to clear his own portion. And the next person clears his own portion. And then in the end, we have a smooth drainage, a cleaner environment, a much healthier environment.
Governor Masari, however, commended the support being received from development partners and called on the good people of Katsina State to make good utilization of the treated mosquito nets. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Now, parents are supposed to be the protectors of their children, but sometimes parents are so damaged themselves that they are unable to do the job. Abusive parents are commonplace in fairy tales and classical mythology, which results in emotionally, verbally, physically, or mentally abusing their wards. Now, this is the reality of 5-year-old Aliu, who was rescued at a time his father was about to drive a knife through him in Bauchi State. Zainab Bala takes us through his account.
The Almajiri system in Nigeria is highly controversial. The system has been attacked for promoting youth poverty and delinquency, for making them unequipped for the workforce, and for radicalizing boys and making them perfect recruits for gangs and Boko Haram. But in this story, the tables have turned. Aliyu is only 5 years old. At this age, he has experienced cruel and violent treatment from his father. Before his life even begins, his father was about to cut it short. He was rescued by a selfless individual that brought him to this Almajiri school to seek refuge.
Shi wannan alhamdulillah, shi wannan Aliyu da babansa mashi wannan wulakanci.
I can't describe how disturbed I am about little Aliyu, who received this cruelty from his father. I usually get children delivered here, particularly those whose communities have been ravaged by conflict. Some of them run into the bushes for their lives. We are looking into Aliyu's case to see how we can locate his father. He was brought here by a kind-hearted individual. We want him to grow older. He is originally from Bauchi. Aliyu also ran into the bush and someone rescued him. We will go to Bauchi in search of his parents soon. Some children here are orphans. We help them with what we get as donations from people.
Aliyu barely speaks to strangers, except when he's amid other Almajiri. It took 2 sticks of candies to get him to talk.
I was beaten by my father with a cane on my back.
He loves being here because he feels safer and accepted. According to reports, abuse and neglect create a lifelong impact on children's brains, bonds, and behaviors, which can translate into lifelong psychological consequences that can manifest as educational difficulties, low self-esteem, depression, and trouble forming and maintaining relationships. Zainab Bala, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now we look at the foreign scene, where Russia's defense ministry announced a partial ceasefire on Saturday to allow residents of 2 besieged cities, including the strategic port city of Mariupol, to evacuate. The announcement comes after Mariupol's mayor, Vadim Boychenko, says the city is under blockade by Russian forces after days of ruthless attacks. According to the Russian side, the declaration is a regime of silence and opens humanitarian corridors for the exit of civilians from Mariupol and Volnovakha. Reports say while laying siege to Mariupol for days, Russian forces have cut its electricity, food, water, heating and transportation in the depths of winter, prompting comparisons to the Nazi blockade of Leningrad in the Second World War. And with that, we wrap up Trust TV News Update for this hour. Don't forget, you can subscribe and follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for joining us.